Hello everyone, welcome back to the Homelab Gamer. Today I'm going to give you a full tour of my home lab, the network, server, storage, media, and everything that keeps my setup running day to day. This is the lab I use to learn, test, and self-host. Let's start at the top and work our way down. At the very top of the rack is the heart of the network, my Sophos firewall. This handles all incoming and outgoing traffic, web filtering, VPN access, protects everything in my house. It's basically the security guard that never sleeps. Before this, I was running a SonicWall firewall, which I used for a few years. While it worked, VPN licensing was a big downside. You had to pay per VPN user, and you couldn't easily create firewall rules based on Active Directory groups to give users access to certain parts of the network. The main reason I went with Sophos is because I really liked their free home edition firewall and the user interface. It allowed me to test all the features before committing to the hardware. I originally ran Sophos as a virtual machine to make sure it fit my needs. With Sophos, I can connect directly to Active Directory, control who has access to the VPN, and restrict access to specific parts of the network using Active Directory groups that I control and configure myself. That level of control was a huge win for me. I did test other open source firewalls, but I wasn't a fan of how they handle VPN. That said, I still use pfSense and Untangled in virtual machines to isolate parts of my network. Those sections use VPN clients to stay completely separated from my main network. This is actually my second Sophos firewall. My first firewall was a XG85, which eventually hit its end of life. One of the main issues I had with it was a slow UI due to the eMMC storage. When I upgraded, I took advantage of a promotion where if you buy a 3-year license, you get the hardware for free. I make sure to get a model that had an SSD, which is the XGS107. The difference was night and day. The UI is much faster and more responsive. The only downside is the bandwidth. Right now I'm slowly moving into 2.5 and 10 gigabit networking. This firewall cannot quite keep up. Unfortunately, upgrading to the Sophos model that supports that speed is a little bit out of my budget right now. Next in the rack is my Proxmox laptop node. This is actually my old Lenovo W530 that I repurposed into a Proxmox server. It originally ran my UniFi Controller and my main Windows server. It handles those workloads without any issues. It has a 32GB RAM, which is more than enough to run a few virtual machines in my home lab setup. Right now, this node is offline because the main boot drive became corrupted. To keep everything running, I migrated all the services over to my main Proxmox server, where they will stay until I replace the boot drive. Overall, it's been a solid machine. I use it as a headless Proxmox server due to an issue with the graphics card, but it's a great piece of hardware to repurpose as a server. Below that is my QNAP NAS, which acts as both my primary storage and my backup for my entire home lab. I use it for personal files, VM backups, and snapshots. I have used it to connect it to Proxmox so I can run backups automatically, which is the way I was able to move my laptop node into my main Proxmox node. When I bought this NAS, I was upgrading from an old Buffalo NAS that was going slow and running out of space. I especially wanted something with 5 or more bays so I can run RAID 5. This will give me 4 drives worth of space and redundancy. I also wanted the ability to run VMs directly from the NAS. I was deciding between QNAP and Synology NASes, and while both of them have solid platforms, I personally like the QNAP interface a little bit better, so I went with QNAP. Later on, I learned that QNAP has a history of security vulnerabilities. So, in my setup, I keep it locked down and fully updated. I never expose it directly to the internet. Everything runs behind a firewall that only goes through trusted network paths. Right next to the NAS is my HDHomeRun tuner, which integrates directly to Plex. Lets me stream live TV and record DVR content across the network. No cable box, no clutter, just clean IP-based TV. Next is my black and white laser printer. It's not flashy, but it's extremely reliable. I chose the laser printer specifically because I don't want to deal with ink drying out and constantly changing the ink cartridges. It's fast, low maintenance, network connected, and perfect for documents, labels, and anything else I might need in the home lab. Below that is my gaming rig, which doubles as my video editing and remote admin workstation. This is the system I use to manage the home lab, edit videos for the channel, test workloads, and of course game. It's basically my hybrid gaming and home lab control station. At the bottom of the rack is my custom-built system that hosts my main Proxmox server and is designed specifically for virtualization and storage. It's built on a Supermicro motherboard, which is a dual socket that runs 2 Intel processors paired with 162 gigs of RAM that gives it plenty of headroom to run multiple VMs and containers at the same time. I do have a memory upgrade plan, which I am covering in a future video, so stay tuned for that. The server is housed in a 4U chassis. I replaced the original front side with hot swap open bays, which makes it easier to swap drives and it makes maintenance much easier, especially since I am running TrueNAS inside of Proxmox. On the software side, this server runs a mix of VMs and containers. For Docker, I use Portainer to manage everything, along with containers like Homebox, Altavia, Uptime Kuma, and GX Proxmox Manager. I am also running Plex for my media streaming and Home Assistant for my smart home automation, all hosted right here. This machine is truly at the core of the entire Homelab. Everything here is protected by 2 UPS units, which is enough runtime to safely shut down my Proxmox and my NASs and all my network gear during an outage. The goal is simple: no data loss and no corruptions. That is the full tour of my Homelab. For networking and storage to virtualization, media, and automation, this setup lets me learn, experiment, and lets me build without relying on the cloud. If you want to deep dive into any part of this, Proxmox, Docker, firewall rules, or my upcoming memory upgrade, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon, and I'll see you in the next one. Welcome to the lab, welcome to Homelab Gamer.